Hello. How are you doing?
Fine.
So.
Why so?
Because I can't stand this situation. No, I just can't survive in such a wave anymore.
You can't stay at home?
Yes, and today I went to a supermarket
Mm-hmm.
and everybody's in masks, of course, and I was also in mask, and I can't breathe in it. Like I start, I don't know, suffocating, start choking. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's really frightening. I don't know. It's better to sit at home than to go somewhere and feel like this.
Sasha, we're gonna hear you.
Do you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah. Now, all right. Yes.
I forget to switch between the microphones. Masha, I was telling that. Imagine how we were in Germany. It's like we were wearing masks, respirators all the time. So, yeah. And these masks that we have, they're much easier to breathe.
Yeah, I understand.
So really,
Mm-hmm.
this is like.
Girls, do you know if I'm recording this meeting, can I be in my headphones or I have to do that without?
I have no idea.
I've never done that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there is an option like to connect the sound from the microphone or something, like when you're sharing the screen, the same thing, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, so we can start then. I was asking, I asked, how are you doing, Nastya? Is everything all right? Probably
yes,
you've tried something new these days. That's also a good point.
Something new, I want to pay for WordWall app and to use it like to the fullest.
Yeah. Yeah, I also paid.
Ola sent a new website link, but haven't discovered it yet. Like, didn't try.
All right. Well, since we're on pronunciation workshop now, are you teaching pronunciation as well, like online?
Some, yes.
For students.
I've tried.
Yeah.
All right, because today we'll look at some ways how we can do that online and how we can do that offline, so different activities for different ways. To start with, I'd like you to listen to an audio. In that audio, one person will be speaking English, and I'd like you to imagine that that is your student. And while listening to this person, you have to decide whether you correct him or not, whether you will correct him or not, and why. So is his pronunciation correct? The link I'll share now with you here in the chat. So please open it, and a few minutes for you to listen to and to answer my question. All right. So what do you think? Would you correct a student like this at the lesson?
I don't think so, actually. I don't know why. For me, it sounded not perfect, but pretty normal, understandable. Maybe like to work on the pronunciation, like just with the whole class, okay. But I wouldn't correct him.
I only correct students who pronounce the words absolutely wrong. So when they have stress on some other syllable, not the correct ones, but not the students like this. So of course, I'm trying to give them some tasks, maybe to listen something, to learn the difference between some sounds like z and the, of course. But in this situation, I also wouldn't correct him.
All right. Well, so we're talking here about the rules for pronunciation and how they differ from rules for reading. So you see my screen now?
Yes.
No.
Yeah, I
Ah.
do.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. 1 second. So we're talking about reading rules versus pronunciation. If we're talking about teaching reading rules, what does that include?
Like teaching that, for example, T and H, it is the, C and H, it is ch. So how we read these letters together, for example.
Okay, so how to read the letters, how to read the clusters, right? The sound clusters.
Yeah.
So actually that is ability to read correctly so that it's understandable, like Sasha said before, so that the students know the letters, they pronounce these letters correctly, they know the sound clusters, how they are pronounced, some consonant clusters like CH, K, yeah, chemistry or character, or the, and the vowel clusters as well, and clusters of sounds like ot in bot, double O like oo, and so on, right? And of course, they also have to know the difference between short, long sounds, or we would also say here diphthongs, like bake or back, leak or like, right? If we're talking about pronunciation, teaching pronunciation, is it more than reading?
Yes.
And what does that include?
The difference between sounds E and E, like a, and a, and so on.
All right, any other ideas?
Maybe the difference between like Russian g, sorry, he, and no English g or d and d.
Well, maybe also understanding how to make the sounds, like how the
Exactly.
speech organs work.
Yeah,
also.
so exactly. Exactly that is the case. Because when we're talking about teaching pronunciation, we're also talking about creating sounds and creating sounds correctly. That is the way how we create sounds using our speech organs. That is also about stress, rhythm, and intonation, and also can be accent. So when we're talking about pronunciation and teaching pronunciation, we need to know when to teach, how to teach, and what to give, what not to give, what to correct, what not to correct. If we're talking about when to teach pronunciation, do we have a certain stage in our lessons just for pronunciation?
No.
Yeah, there is no such stage like pronunciation in our lesson, but where can that be included?
Vocabulary, maybe? Like presentation.
Exactly. So when we're talking about presentation stage, yeah, is that only vocabulary?
No.
Grammar?
Why not?
Yeah.
Of course. So both
learning.
vocabulary and grammar and functional language as well. What do these letters? What do these letters mean?
Action, I forgot what
Usage
it
meaning pronunciation.
Yeah.
Yeah, the order is different for that. It is form, meaning, pronunciation, but we actually start from meaning, pronunciation, and then form, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if we're talking, so we actually have this stage on presentation stage, yeah? We actually have this part of pronunciation on presentation stage. That is here, pronunciation. Well, what other stages in the lesson can include pronunciation, teaching pronunciation?
Tongue twisters.
Okay.
But
Like warm up, drilling.
Okay, warm up. Where else? If you correct your students.
error correction, yeah, of course.
All right. So I also have here some other stages in our lessons where pronunciation can be included. That is pre-teaching vocab, because we also like, it's a kind of presentation, like mini presentation of vocabulary that is also given feedback. In this case, we also talking about error correction. Error correction stage at the end of the lesson, and that can be also warm-up or 5-minute activities. On which stages it's necessary to teach pronunciation?
Presentation.
Error correction,
Error
for
correction.
sure.
And if we're talking about pre-teaching vocabulary, why do we do that? Before what parts?
Listening or reading.
Yes, in which case listening or reading is more important?
Listening, maybe because they might not know what it is.
Exactly. So of course it's great if you do that for reading as well, but if you lack time, you can do that only for listening stage, at least some words, so that they can catch these words while they're listening. Well, okay. So these are the stages when we can teach pronunciation. The next question I have is how to teach pronunciation. And we actually have 4 steps of how to teach that, how to give that. That is drilling, eliciting, practice, and explanation. Do they go in this order as I show you now?
No. Maybe. Maybe elicit first.
First, and drill is the last one. Oh no, practice is the last
practice.
one. Sorry.
Elicit, explain, drill, practice, maybe.
Okay, that's absolutely correct. So first we elicit, then we explain the sounds, then we drill that together with them, and then we practice. And we have different ways to elicit, to explain, to drill, and to practice. We'll start with eliciting. Now you are my students, so as if you are my students now, and I will try to elicit some words, their pronunciation. You answer, well, you react to what I'm trying to do with you or to elicit. So ladies, this word, how do we pronounce it?
Purchase.
Purchase.
Okay, we pronounce it purchase. Can you please repeat?
Purchase.
Okay, we are now only on eliciting stage, not explanation or something. The second one, guys, look at this transcription. What is the word? Can you read it?
Bargain.
Bargain.
Begging. Ooh.
Okay, where is the stress?
Begging.
On ba or on gin?
Ba.
Yes, you see the sign here, it means stress, and we put it before the stressed syllable, so bargain. Okay, how can we match? How can we match these words with the transcription?
The first transcription to the second word.
So this is
hurt,
and this is
hot.
Okay, look at this question, please. I would read this question for you. You say, which way is more natural? Number 1, did you call your mom? Number 2, did you call your mom? So Once again, number one, did you call your mom? Number two, did you call your mom?
Maybe
First,
first.
The first one with did you, or the second one with did you?
Then second.
actually, I heard, for me, the difference was with mom, like in one mom, and another was mom.
All right, then it's better to underline the words that you would like your students to focus on, because then it can lead to misunderstandings. Actually, yes, did you or and did you. So I have here 4 ways how we can elicit the pronunciation of words. First, you can ask students to read the words. It's something I very often do after the lesson. I mean, at the last stage of my lesson on error correction. I can also give them transcription and elicit what word is that. That is also matching. It takes more time because during the lesson you have to find some time to copy this transcription from the dictionary and to build and just to copy that in your list so that your students can match. Or that is by giving alternative. Alternative, is that only about sentences, questions, or I can use it also for sounds?
Or sounds, yeah.
Yes, like with heart and hurt. Yeah, I ask, is it heart or hurt? That is the same, like also alternative. Or with grammar, with intonation, with anything. Well, the next stage is explanation, right? Girls, do we have to explain every sound in transcription?
No.
I
Difficult
guess
ones.
depends if they know it. Because sometimes you show them, it's like, what is this long S? Or like Z? So sometimes people know nothing about transcription.
All right. Yeah, so that's correct. We don't overwhelm our students with a lot of sounds. We just focus on 1-2 features of pronunciation. That can be sounds, that can be connected speech, or intonation. I have now a list of different words that your students might have troubles with. And I'd like you to think which sound you'll focus here on, or which pronunciation feature you'll focus here on. For this reason, I'd like you to take a screenshot or to take a picture of that, because you'll be divided now in pairs.
Done.
Sorry, just a second.
So that you have these words. All right. Done? Great. So now you will work in pairs. What you have to do with these words?
Think on which focus sounds we have here.
Exactly.
Like what we need to focus.
So what sounds you have to focus on? That can be 1 or 2 sounds, or that can be connected speech or intonation. All right. Wait a sec. Join your group, please. You have 1 minute for that.
I can see the message like inviting.
Now you
Oh,
can
yeah,
see.
now,
Sasha, hello. I also have student who has troubles with joining the rooms, and that's why while regrouping, she always stays in the main room, and I just ask someone to join her.
Yeah, that happened for me, like with me after the upgrading, so the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Luda.
Hello.
Oh, everybody got back. Sorry, whoever was supposed to be to my partner.
Wasn't me.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
All right, no problem. Next time, Sasha will work here in the main room with someone.
Oh, hello, girls. I'm sorry. I thought my microphone was
On.
on. Yes, and I talk a lot. I'm sorry.
All right. So now, please, ladies, what are the sounds that you will focus on, or what are the features that you'll focus on? The first one, plagiarize.
J and distress.
Okay. Other ideas?
Everything.
Maybe A, plagiarize.
Uh-huh. Okay, number 2.
It's
The
always
stress.
tables.
Mm-hmm. So the stress, yeah. Okay, number 3.
Sound E. Long sound E.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the long sound. The next one, will and won't.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, switch it on.
Benefit speech.
Switch
Exactly.
it on. Maybe the stress also. Like switch
maybe-
it on.
Maybe
or
some
something
people
like this.
switch, not switch, but switch.
I think the stress also can be like somebody switch it on, not switch it on.
I couldn't hear this like that.
It sounds a bit Italian. You say switch it on. Okay. The next one, there is, there are.
They are. There are and they are.
The also.
Okay, the sound, the. Mm-hmm. And the last one, come on and no way.
Intonation maybe.
All right, so these are my suggestions for you. So the first one, that is about how these words is pronounced and what words can we divide it in. So for example, the first syllable, we read it as play, and it's easier for students to remember that. If you divide these words into these clusters, into syllables, and say that the first syllable is play, yeah, play. And the second thing I would focus on, that is the schwa sound, this sound. So play, jerai. So they don't have ja or ja or jaw. They just have schwa sound. It means that it's not distinct sound. It's just like breathing out. Ja. Plagiarize. The next one, here we're talking about stress, of course, because a lot of students, they say vegetables, yeah? And I say that it's nothing to do with tables, actually. That is vegetable stress. And the sound which helps to understand that is also schwa sound. That only the first sound I have distinct vowel, like ba, vegetables. Others I don't hear distinct exact sounds. Like ta, ba, yeah, it's just like breathing out, schwa sound. The next, yes, you are correct with long and short. Here you can also provide some other examples with long and short E, because it's typical mistake with sheep, bin, and keep, and so on, or kick, yeah. The next one, yes, is O. And what word is easily confused with won't?
Won't.
Yeah, so won't and won't, you can show this difference, that here we have the diphthong, not just o, but o, yeah, won't. In two next ones, I'll focus on connected speech, switchy done. Yeah, so when we're talking about phrasal verbs, we don't pronounce separately word by word. We connect them together and we get like switch it on. Yeah, not switch it on, switch it on. The next one is the same, there is, there are. that's great for drilling as well, because it's the separate topic in grammar in functional language. And the last one is intonation, because is there only one intonation pattern for come on?
No, can be different, yeah.
No,
Yeah, it depends on situation.
Come on, like if you
Exactly.
are unhappy.
So, and it can be also interesting for students that changing the intonation, you change the meaning of that. So you can say, come on, or come on, or something like that. The same with no way, yeah? So one thing when you don't believe something, how would you say that?
No way.
Another way is when you're surprised. How would you say that?
It's the same.
But it's the same. I mean, you can be unpleasantly surprised. So then you say, no way.
All right. But the purpose here is to show your students that you can use this phrase not only for something you don't believe. Like you don't believe something, you say, no way. You can also say, no way. It's like you're so surprised, right? You're astonished by something. Okay. Well, so after explanation, we move on with drilling. Girls, what types of drilling do you know for pronunciation, or what types do you usually use?
Group
Oral.
one by one. Yeah.
So I have here different ways that you can use to drill the sounds or drill some connected speech or sentences, phrases. And your task now will be again to take a shot from my screen so that you have this picture. Okay, everyone has a picture?
Yep.
Yes.
Great. Now you will work again in pairs, and your task will be to discuss each of these ways. What does that mean? What is the way you're drilling? Wait a sec, please. Okay, 3 minutes for that. Sasha and Luda, you're staying here.
Okay. And what do we need to do?
Yeah, discuss what are ways of drilling. So from this picture, how would you drill? What does that mean? Mumbling drilling or choral drilling? Well,
Okay. Choral drilling. It's like the teacher says something and the student.
Choral.
Next,
So they just repeat all together.
Yes.
So something like this.
Okay, maybe. I don't know. Okay, about emotions, I think that we can drill these like no way, come on, and so on. So they use different emotions and they repeat these phrases.
Like with surprise, with shock and so on.
Okay. Actually, all the next ones like groups, tables, individuals, boys, girls, choral drilling. We can drill everything, all the sounds, also the intonations. So
all the words.
yeah. And what about mumbling? Mumbling is just when.
Okay.
Emotions. What do you think?
Emotions, I think, like to say other words with different emotions.
Yeah.
This word could be happy, this word sad, this word excited, and so on.
Yeah, like, or you're very angry. Pronounce this word as if you were very angry. chain drilling. Maybe it's like one by one, or maybe one person says one word, the second person says that word and the new words, and like snowball, maybe one by one, maybe.
Chain drilling, yes.
Maybe.
Yes.
Just my guess. Like this. So we don't know, only mumbling.
Yeah, colors. Colors, it's easy, yes.
Colors, do we have colors? I just don't see that.
Yeah,
what about colors?
I think just to put some colors for different words and
yeah. Yeah.
words with
the same pattern of pronunciation, maybe, or with the same sound. Circles words with the same sound, maybe.
And next on the groups, tables, individuals.
We have discussed it, I thought. That's just like
just like with boys, girls, and so on. It's just the same. Okay.
Oh, everybody returned.
Not everybody.
Not everybody.
We don't mind.
Have you been eavesdropping?
Yes.
Oh, shame on you.
All right, now everyone's here. Okay, so everyone's back, and I'll show these shapes once again for you. And we'll start with the first one. So choral drilling, how many people do that?
All the whole class.
Yes. So that is when a teacher pronounces the word, students repeat, choral drilling. Boys, girls?
Only boys, only girls.
What other variations can they have?
People wearing jeans, people wearing something black.
Exactly, right. So it's up to your imagination. That can be boys, girls, clothes, anything. Okay, nominating.
You say name, like Vasa, Peter.
That works really well while teaching online, because choral drilling sometimes it's hard to catch who mispronounced the sound. But nominating, you can hear exactly who says that. All right, chain drilling.
Everybody one by one.
But how do they understand who one by one, girls? How do you do that?
Yeah, maybe in online class, I don't know, but in real class, that's easy.
But how in real class, okay, how do they? So they will be looking at each other silently.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, actually you can say, like, Masha, please start, then Dima, and so on, then they see who they have to follow. That is chain drilling. It can also be a kind of a snowball. If there are, for example, you're practicing one or two sounds, and you have a lot of words on these sounds, then like short and long E, then one by one as a snowball, so the next person has to repeat what he or she heard before and add one more word. All right, groups, tables, individuals.
So groups, tables, tables.
Yeah,
here at least you show and you wave, you like this table, and so here they can understand.
Exactly. So now only this table, now only you guys, now only Kate, now only Sasha, and so on, so on. Yeah, groups, tables, individuals. Okay, emotions.
It worked good with elementary with this peppy, boring. So.
Is it only about the words which mean emotions?
Not only, you can just do this for fun, but it's for
and
me
now you now you just say these words as if you were angry or if you were surprised, like this.
Yeah, like, and now surprised and plagiarize. This way, yes. So emotions, that adds some fun to your lesson. Students actually like it. It's better to write the emotions on the board so that they can see and follow. They can also do that in groups, for example. Colors.
I don't know this. How does it
this
work?
maybe that's nothing to deal with like pronouncing it, saying out loud, like circle the same sound pattern or with different colors, my guess.
Yeah, that's kind of practice already. Colors, it's very easy. Just some words of red color, for example, others of green color, and then you say that people sitting here at this table, your color is red, your color is green, and then they pronounce like only the words which are of their color. And mumbling, what's that?
We didn't actually think much about that. No idea.
I remember I used it maybe a few years ago with starters when first we drilled in choral drilling, yes, and then I asked them to cover their ears and to say this once again, but not loudly, like mumbling to themselves, just to repeat it again.
So that's pronouncing just words to themselves, yeah, like under your nose, yeah, mumbling. They get, so first you can do that together, then they see the words on the board or on your screen or like a list of words, and they just pronounce them for themselves, like mumbling. Or it can be also connected with choral drilling that you pronounce for everyone loudly, and they have to repeat that in the way that they are mumbling. Yeah, so they just mumble.
May I ask you, what is the best way to drill words while being online, like remotely? Nominating or mumbling, or no? Or it's impossible to do?
Well, now I use nominating a lot. Choral drilling first, while I'm just explaining, I ask them to repeat, but then nominating, I ask someone to repeat this word or to read these words for us. Mumbling also works. It's kind of choral drilling as well, but everyone is pronouncing. And I would say chain drilling as well, because you have a list of participants. You can ask your students to open this list of participants, and they can just one by one read the word. They see where they're staying, and they pronounce one by one. But actually, do we have to use only one way of drilling, or you can combine them?
Why not?
Yeah.
Boys, so girls also can be used. Why not?
Yes, anything can be used. Yeah. So I usually combine. Like I always start with choral drilling, and then nominating, or then group stables, individuals, or emotions, or colors can that be.
Sorry, and one more. If that is choral drilling and remotely via Zoom, they need to be mute? Yeah?
No.
No?
They have to, yeah, you have to listen to them. So actually they do it with their microphones.
No problems, yeah, with the microphones. Okay.
Yeah, probably you do not hear everyone, but still you hear that they are working, that they are here, they're listening to you.
Yeah, okay. Thanks.
I still hear their mistakes. Sometimes I don't hear who it is, but I hear that somebody makes a mistake.
If we hear that someone made a mistake, still made a mistake, what would you do in this case?
Like try to nominate them, try to figure out who it is.
I just, if I hear again that someone pronounces that with a mistake, I again show them the word and ask with an alternative question. Is it vegetable or vegetable? Kate, yeah, or Tanya? And someone answers this question. And then we pronounce it once again, and I ask once again someone to repeat that. Okay, so we go on with drilling, and we have also some ways how to make our drilling efficient. Now we'll practice a bit. So again, I'll ask you to be my students for some minutes, and I'll explain what we do here to make it efficient. So the first one, look at the word here. How do we pronounce it?
Mustache.
The stress is on the first syllable or on the second one?
On the second.
On the second, yes. So we say mustache. Repeat, please.
Mustache.
Mustache.
We remember that it's schwa sound, right? Mustache.
Mustache.
Masha, once again.
Mustache.
Okay. Now listen and repeat. Mustache.
Mustache.
Black mustache.
Black mustache.
Black mustache.
He's got a black mustache.
He's got a black mustache.
Does he have a mustache?
Does he have a mustache?
So it is an example how you can add some context to the words that you're practicing. The next one. So we see here the word, and first I'm explaining how to pronounce this word. So we pronounce it all together. Repeat, please.
All together.
All.
All.
All. All together.
All together.
How much is all together?
How much
Much
is
is all together.
Nastya, how much is all together?
How much is it all together?
All right. The next one. Further.
Further.
Fur.
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 The. Further.
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 Further than.
Further than.
So in this way, I start from sound. So from the sound, I'd like to focus on, especially if it's a hard word like further, or I divide it in syllables. All right. The next one, fur. Here I'm explaining the sound that it is It's somewhere in the back of your mouth. Your tongue is also somewhere in the back, and you say fur. Fur. Sir. Her. Bird. So after the explanation of the sound and how to pronounce that, I can add some similar words with the same sound so that they see how it works in other words. So we drill with similar words. All right. Let's look at this sentence. I read it, you repeat. On Thursdays, I find thrills in finding things.
On Thursdays,
I find thrills in finding things.
Here you can also actually divide it, so you can start with Thursdays. On Thursday.
On Thursday.
The thrills. Find thrills.
Thrills.
Things. Finding things.
Finding things.
So that is the drilling with a tongue twister. Which of these way you cannot use at once when you, for example, found a mistake and you are on error correction stage? Which way you cannot use just right away? You cannot.
I guess we don't start with the tongue twister.
Exactly. Of course, if you know some tongue twister, you can add it, but usually it happens that we haven't expected this mistake to come, and that's why we are not ready with a tongue twister. But what you can do, you can find a tongue twister on the sound that your students had problems with, and you can share that in their chat, in Telegram chat, or you can do that on the warm-up with this sound. Yeah, for example, with the. All right. And we also have some ways to drill grammar, pronunciation, and form. For this reason, for grammar, we have grammar chants. We have also a substitution table and intonation. Have you ever used grammar chants?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
a little.
Yeah, so it is, yeah, we will start with intonation, sorry, because grammar chants and substitution table I'll show a bit later. So intonation, how can intonation be drilled in grammar? And why in grammar?
Questions mostly, or what else? Just questions come to my mind.
Yeah, so statements and question, because we have statements and WH questions, we have falling intonation, and in yes/no questions, rising intonation. Does it have to be used on presentation stage only?
No, practice, you can correct them after practice.
Exactly. So for example, they have a task to create questions. Then you show the answers on your screen or on the board with the questions, and you can elicit what intonation you need. And then before they start asking each other these questions, they already know that they need some rising intonation or some falling intonation. Okay, that is grammar chant. So how it looks like going to as Ghana. And here you also can see the example of colors. One part of the group reads black color, another part reads everything which is in orange. What are you gonna do? Two, what are you gonna do? What are the steps? So what do you start with a grammar chant?
To listen to, and like a teacher must demonstrate the way it is pronounced.
So first you do that open class, right? So you read it, they repeat all together. Then it's better to do that like teacher versus students. So you read one color, they read another, for example, and then like two groups of students. So these tables black color, these tables orange color, for example. We have also a book of grammar chants. If you need it, please contact me. I'll share the link with you. It's in our Google Drive. Substitution table. I'm sure you also have used it. Here, an example with, so it can be with going to as well, or with used to, yeah? So first, of course, it goes after explanation. When you explain that we pronounce it as used to, and that in questions, we pronounce did you used to, yeah? Did you used to do something? And then while they are creating their sentences, statements, negative sentences, and questions, they also practice these patterns, yeah, or this kind of pronunciation. Used to, did you used to? All right, so these are the tips for grammar, what you can use to practice, to drill. Yes, and after drilling, we come to practice. Of course, the practice of pronunciation is in speaking. What do you have to do as a teacher while your students are speaking?
Monitor, of course, and take notes of some points.
Okay, and during the lesson, how much do you speak as a teacher? Does it have to be much?
No.
Yeah, I'm talking about TTT and STT.
So
is that familiar
as
to you?
little as possible, of course, but at elementary or starters, actually you mostly talk.
Yeah, so it depends, but if you want your students to practice speaking and pronouncing, then you have to lessen your teacher talking time and give more room to them to practice the sounds, to practice speaking. And of course, you pay attention to pronunciation while monitoring them. So that on error correction stage or in feedback, you can draw their attention to some sounds or to some pronunciation features. All right, so that is something that we use every lesson, yeah? So it's on speaking practice. Of course, we also have different activities for pronunciation. Pronunciation activities. Some of them you can use in connection with vocabulary, for example. Some of them you use just for pronunciation, like difference between short and long E, right? And when can you use them? I have here some suggestion for you. on which stages it's possible to use pronunciation activities. Because as we said at the beginning, we don't have such a stage at the lesson like pronunciation. So you can use some pronunciation activities on your warm-up, on some 5-minute activities like feelers, right after presenting vocabulary. So after drilling, you can also give something on pronunciation of these words. You can also give that as homework. And regrouping. Regrouping, it works for offline classes. If you give, for example, some cards and they have to find some matching card with a transcription or with a long sound or with the same sound as you have, in this way, yeah? All right, now I'm gonna show you different activities which can be used to teach and practice pronunciation. And I'll have 3 parts of such activities. Part number 1 will be about online activities, part number 2 about offline activities, and part number 3 is something that is extra that you can give them as homework. So here are the activities for online classes. They are possible online. I'll give you now the list of links to these games, and you will go to these games together with your partner. You will play these games together, and you will have to answer the question, can we use this pronunciation activity also with vocabulary, like with target vocabulary from the lesson? Yeah, how can we combine pronunciation with the vocabulary from the lesson? Well, so we'll do that in the next way. First, I'll divide you in pairs, and then I'll come to each pair and I'll share this list of activities with you. Well, so the links to these activities. All right, girls, we'll start with you. One of you can share the screen. Nastya, why haven't you joined? All right.
She decided to join.
Ask.
Well, Lisa is going to join us.
Girls, now you go through all these games and you think how these can be also used for vocabulary connected with pronunciation.
Matching cards.
Yeah, you open the links and you play. Girls, here are the games. You open these links and you play together. One of you can share the screen. And you also discuss how they can be used also with target vocabulary. So like pronunciation and vocabulary.
Elena, will you share the screen?
Yes. 1 second. We can start with the first one, matching word or matching cards.
I don't hear Luda.
Sasha, can you share your screen?
Yes, of
with the game?
Sure. Shall we play? Yeah.
Yes. You just play that.
Luda, I don't hear you. Okay.
This is interesting, but I'm not sure that it can be. Oh my God! But for grown up, well, yes, maybe. Okay, next. What's there?
Next is something I don't know yet. Tic-tac-toe, but what is... can't see.
Tic-tac-toe.
Have you opened it?
Yeah.
Yes.
One of you can share the screen.
Tic-tac-toe, just a sec.
Should I demonstrate? I can.
I'm turning on already.
But Lisa, just how to play that? Like if one team.
I play that usually with the annotate.
And if you are correct, mark the square. So this is just about pronouncing correctly, yeah?
Yes, but these are actually the words from one of their classes.
Yeah, of course. And who just controls them? A teacher?
They have to guess the word, actually.
In
like,
pairs.
try to read these words.
So this one, science fiction.
Yeah, and
okay, done.
And you can put there your sign. For example, I'll show you that.
Mark.
Annotate, yeah?
Like, where is...
For example, this one.
I'm not very good with this. Oh my God, where?
Okay, but the other team needs to what? To write down or just?
They work together in pairs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Ola says science fiction, and what do I need to do?
Now
okay.
you choose another word, but you should also try like to make a line or a diagonal. Yeah, so you can take it and pronounce it
It's
correctly.
like noughts and crosses.
Yeah, I see. Okay, just to name it correctly. And Ola, like my partner, she monitors me, right? If I am right or wrong.
Yes. So that's actually after the presentation stage, for example, because all these words, they are from one topic. And it can be used before some follow-up activity, right? So after you presented vocabulary, they can play this game, and then they can go on with some activity connected with these words, like make your sentence, right, with this word.
And if like students are not familiar with this transcription and they are becoming angry, you don't teach us, so what to do, you know? Should I teach this?
Before this stage, it's already the practice. But before that, you had drilling, where you practice the pronunciation of words. And the signs of pronunciation are very, very similar to the letters, right? So anyway, even without knowing the word, they can guess what word is that, because they have the limited number of words in this class, and then they can guess.
No, I mean like they need, for example, one of the tasks to read the transcription to match, and if they say, I don't know these symbols, what are they? Is it comedy, maybe comedy? What should I say?
Look, these tasks that we're doing, they can do even without knowing all the sounds, or even without knowing all the signs, transcription signs. And it's great that they get to know them, because we don't teach them usually. And if they start asking the question, like, what is the sound this or this, then you can use this activity to show them these sounds, and afterwards you can explain, yeah? Like, these are all the words you know, or that we practiced. Now think which is which, and they will figure out what sound is that. For example, thriller, right? They read it like reeler, and they know that we're talking about movie genres, and they understand that, oh, reeler is thriller probably, so it's right? So they will come to that. Of course, not all sounds, but still it's a great tool for you to realize what sounds are unfamiliar to your students, and then to show them on the board as a feedback after this activity.
Okay, I'm just scared of this. And Pelmanism, it means to find a pair. Yeah, I just checked it.
Yes,
cards.
I'm
Pelmanis.
like
guys,
memory
yeah.
game.
But what does it mean,
stuck.
pelmanis? Pelmo from Latin? You don't know?
Probably. It's
Uh-huh.
like memory game.
Using for
Oh, thanks a lot. Thank you.
gestures.
Okay. Ola, are you still checking other activities?
No, I actually try to open this Palm.
5 and 5, you mean?
It's 5 and 5 squares.
Ah. Mm-hmm. It's like advanced tic-tac-toe.
Yeah.
I've never tried that big. Okay, so we have new activity.
Press these cards.
We need just to pronounce, that's all?
No, we need
match
to
sound.
find pairs.
House, take, according to the sound.
Yes.
Take.
Yes, take, you had.
Here was take and here say. And now they are going to disappear, or?
No, they stay here, but they are not more
okay,
active. Yeah.
The new pair.
No. House. No. Get.
It's too difficult.
Overflow, like this maybe. Cow. House. Well.
Don't and no. Don't.
Here was don't.
Here, yeah.
And second. Oh, cool.
And what about vocabulary? So again, we can have definitions and the words like antonyms. And so on.
Yeah, by vocabulary, with vocabulary, I mean that how can you use pronunciation, like teaching pronunciation and vocabulary.
Well, we can have here transcription and the word itself.
Exactly, right. Like transcription and the word. Or some sound, just not the whole transcription, but just one sound from this word, right? And the word.
Word, yeah.
The next
text.
Sasha, are you playing alone?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not playing already, actually.
You finished?
I finished, yeah.
Great.
Where is Luda? She disappeared.
No clue, I don't know.
Seems to me that Zoom actually has some bugs, really, especially the last upgrade, because that's horrible. Last Friday it happened during my lesson, so yeah,
today
the most horrible day.
Yeah, today I've updated, but it's my account.
I haven't updated, like I haven't downloaded a new update, but maybe it will solve the problem because the previous worked. Yeah, this one doesn't. Tomorrow I have 3 more lessons, so I hope it works because really it's horrifying when it doesn't.
On my lessons, it works quite well.
I think that's the matter with the laptop or maybe Windows 7 because I have Windows 7.
That some students, they cannot join the groups. It's like one student per group. Cannot and that's why I have to regroup them manually.
If they are regrouped manually, you mean you leave somebody in the main conference, yeah?
Exactly, like today.
Well, I haven't had these problems with students. I had a problem myself. Like I could create the rooms, but I couldn't join. Like I couldn't enter the room to see. So the same happens like if I'm invited to the room.
All right, welcome back. So what was your favorite game?
Maybe the last one.
Yeah.
With categorizing.
Yeah.
All right, let's go through all of them and think how we can use them also with vocabulary. I mean that not just vocabulary, but pronunciation and vocabulary. The first one, matching cards, we already had with vocabulary from the lesson, right? With the bargain, retail, purchase, and so on, right? Okay, puzzle. There we had just with sounds. Can that be used for a vocabulary?
Yeah, why not?
In which way?
That was the second activity, right?
Right. So with the puzzle.
Be, you can use different groups like clothes, I don't know what else, traveling, so and they can.
Or with food, yes, we had an example like seafood, fruit, vegetables.
Yeah. All right, I see what you mean. So you mean that they just categorize the words and then they can practice them, right?
Yep.
By the way, all these activities, they can be given with some follow-up activity. Like first you gave them transcriptions and words, they practice some pronunciation task, or some sounds like with puzzle, right? You had some sounds there. After that, you can come up with some task on vocabulary, or creating sentences, or creating questions, or also on vocabulary if the task was like with matching cards, right? So that they read this vocabulary, they pronounce how it has to be pronounced in the correct way, and then they can go on practicing it in different activities or tasks from the book, right? Okay, tic-tac-toe. It can be given, so it was given with transcriptions, right? And you had to read the word in order to make the next step. It can be made also with sounds. For example, in each square you have a sound like a, o, or e and e, and so on, so on. And or sounds which they have difficulties with reading in transcription, like what is a, or what is the, or what is sh. And then in each square you can put some sign of transcription. Of course, before that you taught that. And then they have to name the word which contains this sound. In order to do this, in order to complete a line in tic-tac-toe. Pelmanism, that's the cards, memory game.
Yeah.
How that can be used with vocabulary?
Synonyms.
Yeah, and I also used for starters a picture and English word, and we speak about Romanism. Yeah, just to find.
Okay. Yeah. Or picture and transcription. Yeah, so that you have the clue what this word is in this picture. Okay, dictation. That is one more I have. It can be done in pairs. Your partner can have a list of words which you have to dictate to your partner. So one student dictates, another student has to write them down, and then they have to compare if the words are the same in their lists. Or
what if second student writes down the transcription?
They cannot do that.
Yeah, that's too complicated.
Yeah, I guess that's complicated. You can do that in another way, that the person who is dictating has transcriptions only, like has the list of transcriptions. And this person dictates, and his or her partner has to write down these words. And then they compare that the words are the same, right? It can be done also online. One person can write in chat, and then you can compare. All right, categorizing, it's something you had at the end, like grouping, right? Again, according to the sound, can be. Bingo, bingo that can be with sounds and words, like the teacher says some sound, it can be the sound that you learned before, like th, yeah, or the, or sh, or that can be vowels like a. And your students have to cross all the words which contain a sound. So the binger who doesn't know, it's a kind of a grid like this, 5 to 5 or 4 to 4. And your students have to complete one line. If they completed the line, they say bingo. So you know the idea of the game, right? So the teacher says the sound, like here, like, or e, short e, and they have to cross sheep, cheap, did, and so on. And here I have a website where you can create your bingo cards. Then that can be Quizlet, flashcards with sound. So you can also, on the stage of presentation, you can also show them the definitions of the words, or that can be also on revision. You show them the definitions of the words, they have to read that, or they have to say what the word is, and you also can drill that with the sound. You can see the sound sign there, right? Everyone knows how to use sound in Quizlet?
Wait, I don't always understand. Sometimes it says the word, sometimes it doesn't.
You just click on this word.
Yeah, so if I click on the word, it should always say it?
Yes, it has to say it.
If it doesn't happen sometimes, what can be the problem?
I don't know. Probably you clicked on the wrong place.
Okay, I'll check it again.
Okay, and quizzes, of course. Quizzes, it's up to you how you do that. That can be transcription, and students have to choose the correct word. Or you give the word, they have to choose the correct transcription, which is more efficient, I guess. Like you give the word, that can be word of your vocabulary. It's great for quizzes on revision. So on these quizzes, you can just create your quiz as usual with some definitions and words, but one or two of them, try to do that in the way that you give the word, and your students have to choose the correct transcription to this word, like with bargain, right? So write several transcription with bargain or bargain and so on, and your students have to choose the correct one. Or sounds, odd one out, like they have to choose which one is wrong. You give them the sound, for example, and they have 3 options with like 3 words. Each of these words is pronounced with except for one. In one, it will be pronounced as for example, and they have to choose one. Okay, any questions here with online activities?
No.
Then we can move to
So just how much time does it take you to make? Like, if all these actually, is it very time consuming?
Look, you don't have to use all of them. Try to use one a week, for example, or one a lesson. Just sometimes, just for a change, yeah. So that you sometimes shift the focus also on pronunciation, not only on words and their meanings, as usually we do that, but sometimes try to pay their attention to pronunciation. Well, these are just possible activities that you can use.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, or they can be used also on revision stage or on warmer, something like that. Okay, pronunciation activities which can be, which are possible only offline. That is Chinese whisper. Do you know what's that?
No.
What that is? Chinese whisper is something you can see in the picture. We call it broken telephone. In English, this game is called Chinese whisper. So again, these are different words or phrases that you have in the lesson. There can be some vocabulary from your classes, or there can be some words which are difficult to pronounce, and you give them to the first person, a list of these words. This person has to whisper these words or this word one by one to the next person to the next person, and so on, so on. And the last person has to note down all these words, and at the end they compare. Is the idea clear?
Yeah.
Yeah, that can be also with tongue twisters, with difficult words. You can put these difficult words in phrases so that it's even more interesting. Fly swatters. These are the things we have at our office as well. And it's cool for categorizing. Like, it's cool for minimal pairs. Minimal pairs, it means the words which differ only in one sound. As short, long E, or O and O, or A and A, like sad and sad, right? Or dad and dad. Some diphthongs. You write them down on the board, 2 or 3 sounds, and then your students, they stay in 2 lines before the board, in front of the board, and each line has a fly swatter. You read the list of words, and they have to come and hit the correct sound. Yeah. Have you ever tried fly swatters?
Yes.
Yes, but not with sounds.
Sounds, but now you understand the idea with sounds, right? So that they have several sounds, for example, 2 sounds on the board, like E long and E short. You read the word, you say cheap. They have to come and hit the correct sound. That's clear, right?
Yeah.
Stepping stones. Have you ever heard anything about that?
Yes, Ola Dubinina told us about that, but it was connected then with revision.
Yeah, so it's something like you can see in picture number 3, stepping stones. It means that you have to get ready with some cards with the words or with transcription, and you just stick them on the floor, different, just not just one line, but that can be different, so that your students can choose which card to step on. And every time your student steps on the card, like kind of a stone, he or she has to pronounce this word correctly. And only if the student pronounces all the words correctly, he or she can reach another bank of the river.
Do they go one by one? I mean, so there are like 10 people in the group. So do they first student goes, then next student?
I would do that on revision as for fun just, or I do that on a final lesson also as for fun. And then everyone, yes, one by one has to do that. Or playing in 2 groups, like 2 people at the same time.
Yeah, the first team that can like cross the river faster is the winner. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then should you have several sets of these cards if you make if it is supposed to be in 2 teams?
Well, it depends. It depends. I would do that. I would make 1 set, but these stones, they will be everywhere in the classroom, not just like 1 line of stones.
Okay,
so
thanks.
about that I said about Ola's idea, it was a little bit different. I just confused the names, but that was also about the river and stones, but it was just on a piece of paper.
Yeah, it was a worksheet, so it's the same, but like no.
Masha,
yeah.
Can you continue? It was like
yeah, so it was just like a picture, and there was like start, and then 3 stones around this start. And you need, like, there was some task, and you need to choose the correct word or maybe the correct sound. So you go here, here, or here. Then you go to this stone and you read the next word, and then again choose the correct transcription or maybe sound. So here, here, and here.
All right, yeah.
And in the end, you need to go like this, like a maze, and find the correct way to cross this river.
It's on the worksheet, yeah?
Yes, it's also on the worksheet, yeah.
All right, yeah, so then there is only one possible way.
Yes.
To cross the river. Yeah, it can be also done in this way. All right, so with stepping stones, it's clear, right?
Yeah.
Yes, if we're talking about fruit salad, you can see a picture how it works. Fruit salad, because first it initially came from the names of fruits. Like every person gets the name of the fruit, and some people have the same name, like 3 or 4 people have apple, or 2 people have carrot, and so on. And one person is staying in the middle of the circle, so this person doesn't have any fruit. And then, but this person has a list of fruits, or this person can see this list of fruits on the board, and he names one of them, or he just says one of them, reads one of them, says apple, for example, and all the people who have apple, they have to stand up and change their place. So that is the initial aim of the game. So to find the empty chair to sit on while people are changing their places. But you can do that also with the sounds. For example, you have different sounds or different paths like you had in puzzle. For example, with the O, no, I don't, won't, and so on. For example, 3 people have words with O. And every time when you say O, when the person says O, in the middle of the circle, people with words containing these sounds have to change their places. And then this person has to find the place to sit, yeah. Then the next person staying in the circle has to say, for example, ah, right? Some sound from the board. And all people who have the word with the sound ah, they have to stand up and change their places. Exchange. Are you here?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Is that clear with fruit salad?
Yeah.
Okay. And of course, reading aloud. Reading aloud, it can be used for, especially for lower levels, but also sometimes for high levels as well. You can, sometimes we have in our books, the introduction for the text is short, and then we have the text itself. So sometimes I ask students also from intermediate or upper intermediate level to read the introduction for us. In this way, I can see what sounds they mispronounce and what sounds that we have to pay attention to. And anyway, it's a great, great thing to improve your pronunciation, to read aloud. All right, so that was part number 2, which works only offline. Of course, reading aloud can work online as well. I haven't tried yet. Okay, any questions here?
No.
The third part is going to be about activities which can be done outside the classroom or as homework. So the first one is voice messaging. Go Sai, do you use voice messaging?
Yes.
Yes, in which way?
For example, students need to record their text or essay, or also tongue twister. So some homework task which needs to be checked.
Yeah.
They write and also voice.
Yeah. All right, so that can be a great variety of different activities that you can do by recording the voice. That can be telling about your day. A teacher has to do that first because students are usually shy to start. Not all, probably your students are not that shy. Mine are shy. That's why it works well if you start with an example. They can also make some sentences with new words, like you give 2 or 3 words from different classes or from one class in your chat, and your students have to make a sentence, but they don't have to write it, they have to record it. And recording difficult words from the lesson. It means that if you don't have enough time for error correction at the end of the class, or you had time just for correcting some sentences, but you also want them to pronounce some words correctly, You can record them and send them in their Telegram chat, for example, and then you ask students, or vice versa, you type these words in their chat and they have to pronounce these words. They have to read these words by recording themselves. And this way you can check how well they pronounce the words. The next one is learning songs and singing along. It works well for grammar. I use it quite often. These are different constructions, how they are used by natives. For example, the last thing we did, that was with present perfect continuous. We had different songs. So these were like different extracts from songs in one audio, and they had to listen and to fill in the gaps with the necessary words, of course, with the verb forms. And then I elicited that in present perfect continuous, we use not have been doing, but been doing, right? And that usually we even cannot hear this it's just like been going, been doing, I've been loving you for all my life, right? And then we practiced these.
Lisa, there are some questions first. Do you use it for presentation or for practice? Or first, like filling in the gaps? Presentation?
It's up to you. I did it on my WAMA. I did it on WAMA after the topic, but you can do that right after the presentation, like for drilling the structure and pronunciation.
And are you making it by yourself, the video with different extracts?
No,
yeah?
I usually find that on YouTube already different songs cut there. They go like in a line, and you just download that as an audio file. They listen to that, and then I give them the link to the video so that they can check with the subtitles there.
So there is a textbook English file, third edition English file, but usually just English file, any edition. There are a lot of songs.
Yeah, and it's also about learning songs. So you can give it as homework sometimes to learn some song and to pronounce it, because when they're listening to songs, the way that the singers pronounce the words, it's a bit different than when they are reading, for example. So it's also a great tool to learn some songs or to sing together. Videos is about copying speech. It goes also well for homework, but the video has to be really short, like 2 minutes or 1 minute even, where you have an extract of some speech, where the person, that can be from TED Talk, for example, or from any other video, or there can be a dialogue as well. They can learn it together. Their task is just to copy the speech, like to pronounce everything with the same intonation, in the same manner, copying the pronunciation and the accent, of course. Educational videos on pronunciation. I share some links to some videos on pronunciation with my students when we focused on some sound before. For example, schwa sound, right? And then in their chat, I share a video with them on pronouncing this schwa sound, so that they can have more time to learn it, how to pronounce that correctly, to practice that, and to hear more information about that. And reading aloud, again, like homework, they can record themselves, like Nastya, you said. Instead of writing their essay, they can also record it, or it can be also like their speech, or they present some topic, or they express their opinion. In this way, they can note down first, or write down their presentation speech, and then they have to record it. Any questions here?
No.
Have you used any of these techniques?
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, I also have some pictures here. A lot of ideas can be used for final lessons, as you see. So some fun games or some songs or copying speech. It's a real fun. Students like it. So these are also ideas for your final lessons or for revision lessons as well. Okay, to finish with, I have some tips for your pronunciation, because the more interested you are, the more interested your students are in pronunciation. So there are some tips for you how to improve your pronunciation or how to work on it regularly. The first one is to focus on sounds. Because like we started with these reading rules, we know the reading rules, we all read correctly, but the sounds are sometimes mispronounced, or we create them in a wrong way. So there are different ways how to learn to read the sounds and transcriptions. We have different YouTube channels, different websites. I'll give you the links at the end. Also, I always check transcription for new words. So if I encounter any new word, I note it down, but I also note down the transcription to see how the word is pronounced, what sounds we have here, where we have schwa, where we have long E or short E, or O. And watching educational videos. It also helps because there you can find a lot of interesting tips and pieces of advice or interesting tricks that you've never thought about. Actually, I find some of them regularly, something I haven't thought about. The last thing I've heard that was about T and R in English, that when you have words as try or country, usually, I don't know about British, but Americans, they pronounce that with ch, like try. Like not only try, but try, or country, country. So,
yes, sorry, but just it was such a bright example. I was listening to Marilyn Monroe singing, but I want to be lazy, and she was saying this lazy, like lazy, lazy.
Right, so there are a lot of interesting things in these educational videos. I also give some links for you. Tip number 2, so after the sounds, tip number 2 is to listen more and repeat, copying the same manner, intonation, and sounds. It's actually something that helped me to improve my pronunciation. I cannot say that I worked much on sounds. I didn't work on them at all, actually, but I listened a lot and repeated in the same way. And that's why just it worked. That's why I believe that it's one of the most efficient ways to learn to improve pronunciation. Of course, it's reading something aloud and recording your voice. How I do that, I read sometimes aloud. Like anything you read, try to read sometimes it's also aloud, not only silently. And with recording my voice, it's not about that I read something and record, but I decided, for example, with my sister, that while we're learning German together, that once a week we think that for this week, like we decided this week we would record all our messages only in German. Like we don't type each other, we don't write anything, but we record the messages in German. And in this way, you also practice speaking, you also practice pronunciation. So you can do that also with some friends of yours, or with your partner, or with your students. You don't have to, for example, for 1 week, you can suggest that, guys, this week we don't type to each other, we record to each other. And number 4, it's learning the hacks for Russian speakers. I haven't realized how important is that until I found a video or a channel of one woman from Russia who explained different differences between a pronunciation in English and pronunciation in Russian, and that really helped me to improve some aspects of my pronunciation. Her name is Marina Ozerova. You can see here your channel, that is English with Marina Ozerova. And one of the channels that I watched, she has a lot of different topics, but the pronunciation videos are really great. She explains in a very simple way and very interesting way so that you can improve your pronunciation as well. Besides, there are 3 channels that I know for improving pronunciation. The first one, ETJ English, that is from the person who is actually the pronunciation teacher. So he explains the sounds and just teaches how to pronounce words correctly. That's also BBC Learning English. There is one section there about pronunciation. And Lingua Trip TV, that is about a guy who is actually from Russia, I guess, but he's living in the US, and he also describes how to pronounce some sounds in the way Americans do that. And here is the link of one of the videos where a person from Russia is reading some text, and this guy is correcting him, showing the differences in pronunciation. Other resources include something from BBC, this link, also the resource on how to create a transcription. There you can just type in the word and it gives you transcription. It works well with sentences or phrases, because in dictionaries, we usually cannot find the transcription for a phrase or a sentence. And some printable activities for teaching pronunciation, which you can find here in the last link. Well, I guess we're out of time. I also plan that you can create some activities for your lessons. I'll share this presentation with you and the materials from today's lesson. Do you have any questions you'd like to ask about?
No, thank you very much, Lisa.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Very useful.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks a
Thanks.
lot.
Yeah, I understand that we always run out of time, that it's impossible to take time to teach pronunciation at the lesson. That's why my recommendation is that you combine that with vocabulary, and you can also use these activities for revision, like taking only the words from different classes which are difficult to pronounce. And then you can practice them. And I would say that students really like it. At the last class, when we practiced pronunciation at the end, like error correction, and I showed them the transcription. And when I said that the schwa sound is idiot sound, let's practice that. They really like that. And it works really well. It's something memorable for them, and they like it. And they actually said that we like this pronunciation, because usually we don't pay too much attention to that. All right, girls, then have a nice day.
Thank you.
And if there are any
Thank you.
questions, you can ask.
Will you send the presentation, this
Yes,
one
I'll
with the
send
links,
the
yeah?
presentation on all the materials to you, so that
Thank
you
you.
can go through it once again and create your activities as well.
Thank you.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank
Have a
you.
nice day. Thank you
Have a
very
nice
much.
day, nice classes.
Have a nice day.
Okay, and see you. See you next
you.
time.
Bye.
See you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.